Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon to all the participants. I'm Zainab Isaji, and on behalf of TISA Oktara and OGMC, I welcome you all in today's session on Agile Organizational Transformation. Before I give you a brief introduction about our speakers, and I would just like to tell you all that in the 60-minute session, I would request you all to keep yourself muted up and your videos off. If you have any questions to ask, you can type it in the chat box or you can raise your hands and our speakers will answer them all. In the end, we'll open the floor for the Q&A session. Now, just allow me to give you a brief introduction about our speakers of the day. Mohammed Zeeshan and Saqib Javed Chauhan. They both are like project management professionals. They are PMI Agile certified professionals. They both have in professional experience of more than 2 decades in public and private sector. They have worked with global clients which are in like UAE and Qatar. They've written books on management topics and professional exams preparations also. Zeeshan has worked extensively in Saudi Arabia and Saqib in UAE, and now they both have decided to serve their learnings here for the Pakistani community, so they're back here. Apart from that, apart from their work and all, they both enjoy traveling like me, and they are good in then read good books and stuff like that. And now I would like to ask our speakers to take the show. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Zainab. Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar on Agile Organizational Transformation, organized by Oktara and OGMC. As Zainab mentioned a little bit, myself, Zeeshan, I have just over 20 years experience in project management, generally in high visibility projects in both public and private sectors. And I am PMP Agile certified and as well as OCP certified as well. Me and Saqib are co-authors of like 10 books on project management and project management related books. My partner in crime with me today is Saqib John.
Hi everyone.
Saqib is also a seasonal professional, project management professional, and he's also, as I mentioned, co-author of all my OGMC publications. He's also a PMP and ACP and ITIL certified, along with a couple of Java certifications like SCJP and SCWCD. And he has also delivered numerous trainings in Agile and traditional project management. Okay, now getting on with our webinar. Just to mention that if there is any question, we will recommend that you type in the chat box. So, because we have a section at the end for answering your questions. And generally it happens that your question got answered during the presentation itself. So let's get started with it. Well, let's be ready for the harsh reality. The reality is related to project management issues. In the first section of webinar, we will highlight the real-time challenges and problems that organizations, departments, and even the individuals mostly and normally face during the execution of both projects and operations. In the later section, we will emphasize over the solutions along with the proposals and proposed action required. And then finally, we will move towards need that why organizational transformation is important and why Agile is more suitable to meet the objectives. So basically, if we talk about the management challenges, there are many faced by different people, but there are a few common ones and we will discuss those. The first one is balancing quality and growth. This challenge is to calibrate and the balance between quality, performance, and productivity, which is strictly connected with three major components, which are number one, processes validation, number two, prioritization growth at all levels of organization, And number three, advancing in technical capabilities and expertise. So the challenge is to find the common ground between perfection and growth to avoid driving the company towards the death by growth experience. The next challenge is focus on workflow. Companies mostly struggle due to lack of consistency or over complexity in workflows, which ultimately becomes the reason of inconsistent communication, uneven processes, and unreliable tracking. Moving on to the next challenge, strategic relationship with customers. Building strong relationship and bridging the gap between customers has directly impact on market share and business continuity. Strategic relationships are always long term. It's harsh fact that short term gains bring long term benefits. Our next challenge is organizational structure to be flexible and well networked. Uh, we all know that right structuring of the organization is another challenge. An organizational structure is a system, guidance, and outline which defines rules, roles, responsibilities, and flow of information. We experience that many organizations remain confused about their structure, whether they should be traditional or agile, functional or divisional, centralized or decentralized. Next challenge is adopt a process and try to fit in things. It's a very common challenge, especially in newly established organizations, that first they adopt a process and then they try to fit in things accordingly, like a puzzle piece trying to fit in. However, in more realistic, they should draw and customize the process according to their own specific business needs. Be mindful of the tools, techniques, technology, or the process you select. Another challenge is knowing when to embrace change, as change can be a lot harder. So, why to change? How to change and when to change is a big challenge which organizations usually face. We normally suggest organizations to switch off their inner know it all policy and get expert opinion on new trends and techniques of working. Now I will invite Saqib to continue on this session. Saqib, over to you.
Thank you, Zeeshan. Hi to everyone. So, as Zeeshan mentioned, that the organizational challenges are very true and very obvious. And I think every one of us, even the C level or manager level or at the coordination level, we are all facing such challenges on a daily basis in different organizations. But what makes these challenges harsh is in fact the inappropriate dealing with these challenges. When we don't deal the challenges as per the merit, then they finally convert into major problems, which you can see here. The problems are very obvious on the screen. And all four mentioned problems are basically deeply integrated or interlinked or interconnected with each other, right? Any one of them has the obvious tendency to become the root cause of the other three problems, right? You can see the poor workflow definitely initiate the problem of the lack of information, or lack of information can be the reason of the vague guidance, or can be can become the reason of the poor workflow. So all these problems are actually interlinked with each other, and when we don't deal with them appropriately, they become, as Jean actually started this presentation with, that it's a harsh reality. So those challenges ultimately becomes the harsh. But we will also talk about some solutions as well. So solutions are, which is on the next screen, you can see that Strategically, leadership of the organization should be always open to accept the needful change. Sometimes we become very religious or very rigid about some processes or some outputs or some inputs, so that really basically becomes an obstacle for the uh, improvement or the growth of the organization. So the very first thing, we should be very open to accept the needful changes and for the innovation and creativity, and also actually keep evaluating and validating the processes to make the right quality mix of planning, monitoring, and control, and maximize the automation in business and management work. So these are basically the solutions which we normally advise to our organizations, that definitely there are the solutions as well. Be simple, be open, be strategic, be automated, and always try to make a right mix of the different things, right mix of your resources, right mix of your opportunities, right mix of your risks, right mix of your conflicts sometimes, or excessive monitoring sometimes the problem. So ultimately, we need to learn or we need to apply what is the right mix of planning, control, and monitoring, or monitoring and control. Okay, so we will move towards the actions as well, because we talk about problems, we talk about the advisable solutions, but what are the actions actually required to meet those solutions? So now we reach to the point where we need to see some actions which can minimize or can mitigate the problems and can help to face the identified challenges to meet the proposed solutions. Once again, this slide is very consciously designed to present the interconnectivity of the actions as well. The way we interconnect the problems with each other, one problem is causing producing some other problems. The same way, some good actions also creating the way for some other actions. You can see here, one action has an ultimate and pass on positive effect on the other actions as well. For example, you can see on the screen, the converting control into commitment is the perfect example of the change in the work culture. The work culture in our organizations nowadays, in India or even in Pakistan, everywhere, basically the people are working, very interestingly and precisely how to change the appropriate work culture, what actually suits to them. And once you change the work culture as per your processes and your business, and which is really needful, then this automatically converts the controls or the monitorings into the commitments. You don't need to control every resource. You don't need to, you know, 4I system or 6I system. It's better to change the culture of the organization and then see how the people get committed and how everything's changed around you. And again, as we said that these are interlinked, so you can see that embracing the feedback is the sign of systematical thinking, right? If the thinking is systematical, you will see that okay, you will welcome the changes, you will welcome the feedback, you will listen to your client, you will listen to your departments, you will listen to your peers, you will listen to everyone, and you if you are open to adapt or the good things or uh, what can be beneficial for the company, organization, or department, or individually even. So this all will change the whole culture of the organization, and this will put the systematical thinking as a daily practice of the organization, right? So finally, we are done with the problems. We're done with the solutions. We are also presented some actions to you all guys, and moving forward, that agile, why agile can or how agile can actually help you out in doing the organizational transformation. So we put actually questions for us as well, and it's on the screen for you also. That why agile, and why we need to change the things or transform the things on the organizational level, and why actually transformation is required. Is this really needed, or is just a very impressive word for us? Actually, you know. An organizational transformation, we always need a framework, and agile has required capacity and capability and commitment to produce the rightful transformation. So all these things are very important. And like, does this tool or does the technique or does the method which we are going to adapt, we going to buy, or we are going to borrow, whatever, either or that technique or method or tool has that capability, or does that has that commitment to produce the transformation. So these questions are very important, which we can ask to ourselves in our own organizational perspective, wherever we are working at the moment. I'm talking to my audience that wherever they are working, they can visualize, they can make a perception about that, whether the tool they are using, whether the techniques they are they basically having that capacity, capability, and commitment which can produce the rightful transformation. So the first question is, why agile? Why agile? About agile, so many people has so many depth, like perceptions or concepts, but it's very simple. In short, it's very simple. Agile is a mindset, and it's a wow. Wow mean the way of work. Agile is actually a collection of various methodologies and techniques which are realistic, flexible, practical, and very collaborative. And these four things, everyone of us can understand this. These four things are basically the elements of your work culture. And these four elements basically are the components of the performance, productivity, growth, to meet the objectives, and the latest or advanced culture of working, that the tool which we are going to use, is that flexible, is that realistic, is that practical, is that giving us the required collaboration or cross-functioning. So yes, the Agile has that capacity. Agile is helpful and equally effective for the teams, for the individuals, for the companies, and at all levels. It has most natural mechanism to achieve and maintain the customer satisfaction, which is the ultimate goal of each and every organization, to meet the satisfaction of the customer, to produce something or to give such a service which is basically required by the client. It's not your expertise, it's not your organization expertise that you deliver that. The actual matter is deliver what in fact the client needs. So this is the reason. This is the reason why we are saying that agile is important. Agile is good. Agile is flexible, realistic, practical, collaborative. There are many other words, keywords, or many other definitions of agile we have, but I think in these four words we can compress everything that this is what agile is. And now why the organizational level? Because when you change the things at the organization level, it has a very good trickle down effect. And from leadership to the different processes and to different individuals, everything has a trickle down effect on the departments, on the individuals. Because agile, when you apply on the organization, it gives you the self governance, and it has a capacity to reshape the overall workflow of the organization in terms of the organization structuring and the reusability of already developed systems and services. Agile is nothing going to do something that okay, this will make us some drastic change. Agile is a mechanism of adaptability. Okay, reevaluate, rethink, reassess your processes, reassess your policies, reassess your standards, and if there is a room to improve, then please you can get the benefit of that. So the next, so transformation is basically
I think we have lost Saqib.
Okay.
You can continue, Zeeshan.
Okay, let me take on from here. Basically, Saqib was discussing that why transformation. We went through the why agile, why organizational, and why transformation. Uh, Finally, we are on a stage to understand why transformation is important because it is convergence of organizational objective into an accurately productivity through effective utilization of resources. So basically, when we know what is being agile means and what is an organization and its targets, then we can obviously connect the relationship between the agile and the organization through transformation. So we have to understand that what really is a transformation. It is about rethinking to generate new value. It is about unlocking new opportunities, and it is about to drive and deliver new effectiveness. So basically, all three of them combine to form the agile organizational transformation we were talking about. I think we have Saqib back.
thank you, Zishan. Actually, I apologize for the connectivity problem. So, what exactly Zishan is saying is the the real core of this session. Why transformation? So, transformation is basically, as Zishan was saying, that it's important. Number one, it's important, and it is because why it is important because we need the accurate productivity. We not need the only productivity or proficiency. We need the accurate productivity. And accurate productivity can be achieved if we change the work culture, if we change the work frame. And Agile has that capacity, as I said earlier, and capability that we can use our resources more effectively. And we can transform the departments, the individuals, and different processes. No matter it's a projectized organization or it's an operational organization or functional organization, transformation is a need of an hour. Even in our day-to-day practices of the professional works, we need to transfer few things from like in terms of the betterment of those. And as Dishan was mentioning, that it's actually the deep thinking to generate the new value. That is correct.
Hello.
Hello. So, Shan, we will move to the next actually, where we are actually discussing the agile organizational transformation. In fact, with the collaboration of Octara, and we are very thankful to them, we will be delivering a full day training to provide a holistic solution of the organizational transformation through Agile. And that session and that training day basically will cover the multiple factors, which we actually divided into three major. And the number one is architecture and approach of the transformation. Here you can see the first one is the architecture and approach of transformation, and the second one is leadership, directions, and accountability mechanism. And on the top of all, we will deliver the risk governance or risk governing response strategies to streamline the objectivity and to avoid the uncertainty around the overall organization. So this is the basic, the purpose or basic outline of the day when we are having a full day session with Aurora in Karachi and Lahore very soon. That we are going to deliver the way, the mechanism, the technique, the tool, the culture, that how we can make the organizational transformation through the agile. And further, if you see on the slide here, this training is basically, as I said, divided into three components, and each of the component has another five elements which are very important. So the first one is the transformational approach and architecture. What we are going to cover in this is basically the emergent architecture approach and the transforming way of work and adaptive planning, value driven development, and not doing agile but in fact being agile. So this part is the first section of the training, and in this section we will be understanding that organizations to adapt the pragmatic processes for the incremental design and deliver with the help of the well integrated techniques. Everything is there. The techniques always the organizations has, the design they have, the processes they have, but we need to see how well connected are they. This is basically the emergent architecture where you make the processes pragmatic processes, where you make the design as an incremental design and deliver and integrate all these things to with the technologies and deliver by what finally the client needs. And the transforming the way of work is actually all about adapting the goal oriented, reality driven, and generalized and collaborating working approach. And in the third part, adaptive planning is basically the futuristic, iterative, progressive decision making, engaging the client and ready to accept the changes, which is the manifesto of the agile, ready to accept the changes. Value driven development is the real base of evolutionary and customer centric delivery. Again, one of the points from the manifesto that agile focuses on the incremental planning, incremental design, incremental delivery. So what you are going to deliver is what exactly the client was asking or client needed that. For all this, we not to follow the agile processes, but we need to be agile. Or being agile means to adapt the agile mindset and agile culture through the emotional commitment with the company, emotional commitment with your work and with your organization, and all together with your works and objectives. The second section of that training day, the middle section, is basically about agile risk and governance stream. In agile risk and governance stream is what we will be doing. We will be mapping the value stream of the company and the real world, and we need to see that either the agile is the real world application or not. Of course it is, but we will see in detail how it is. Agile environment, agile risk management, and agile leadership and governance. Because in the middle of the section or middle of the training, we our focus is on our tool, and our tool is agile, and we will see how it will be connecting the section 1 and section 3 with each other, right? So in this, what are we going to do is we need to see the agile culture, how it reduces the complexity and deliver the right thinking right, presents the logical clarity and the transparent visualization of information. In the third part, agile environment, with the self-organized management, cross-functional empowerment, and fast feedback system. The feedback system, the short feedback loops, it's one of very like the major agenda or the major activity of the agile framework. They always work in a very short feedback loops. Okay, this is okay or not okay, then okay, let's redo. Considering the cost, time, quality, resources, communication, risk, that is there. The planning part or the project management plan that part is there. But framework, what agile demands is basically if the things are not as per the client needs, you can change it. You can change it straight away. Okay, the fourth part is basically we will see the agile risk management, how it deal with the micro uh, management and how it deal with the misconceptions, hypotheses, different constraints, and the non-integrated dimensions. They are every one of us can understand that where the time goes waste. The time goes waste where we have some non-integrated dimensions or the non-integrated processes. If the processes are non-integrated or the objectives are non-integrated, then simply you will see half of the efforts gone waste. And one of the agile methodology, which is lean, everyone knows about that. That focuses on how to reduce the waste. Agile leadership and governance in the fifth part, where we actually going to anticipate the rules, maturity, futuristic approach, and the uh, alternative excellence. We should always have an alternative talent, alternative skills, alternative excellence, which is good for the organizations to grow and to move forward. So the next part is on that training day, on the third section, we are going to basically uh, present or we are going to train our audience there how agile directions and accountability matters. If anything matters in an organization, that is actually directions and finally the accountability. Directions on the top and accountability at the bottom. This is basically the journey of organization. If the whole system of an organization is clubbed into these two things, on one side, directions, clear directions, visionary directions, realistic directions, and on the other side, you have a system which is actually providing the accountability mechanism. I think there is no way that the organization will not move forward or they are not going to achieve their targets and objectives. So what exactly in that section that day is agile events and artifacts? Of course, that is important. There are many events and artifacts in agile, but we will be focusing on the main of them, like agile prototypes, dashboards, roadmaps, different ceremonies, and retrospective meetings or daily meetings or stand-up meetings, backlog, change management, so many. So we will see that how these events and artifacts basically help the organization and to transform and to work in a better way. And the next is setting clear rules and directions, because through discipline and optimized culture and leadership, this is the basic need. Everything is there again, guys. Everything is there, but if there is no discipline, if there is no optimization, or if there is no leadership, again things can go waste. No matters of how expensive equipment or how expensive tool or how expensive method you adapt. The organization ultimately needs a discipline. Organization agility and governance, which includes basically the forward thinking, upskilling, and plan, do, check, act approach. I mean, keep planning, keep doing, keep checking, keep changing. No harm in that. So, again, the ultimate goal is deliver what or deliver the service what actually client needs. The basic difference between the traditional planning or traditional framework and agile is this. There you deliver after 6 months, which client says, what is this? This is not my product or this is not what I need. But here, you are basically building something with these short interactions or short feedback loops, and I mean like uh, building, presenting, getting feedback. If there is any change required, do that. And because you have, as I mentioned earlier, there will be a change control board or control mechanism, but the actual matter is to change the thought of accepting the feedback of the client. Agile tools and techniques will be in the fourth part, for the repeatable technical excellence and traceable charts and controls. We will discuss which charts and controls are basically in the agile methodology, which can help in the improvement of the organization and different. I mean, whether it's projects or it's operations, it's applicable everywhere. And if in the last section, in the last part of this third section, we will see the agile accountability structure, the most important, because this is where you measure the business value and return on the investment. Your accountability mechanism release your directions and accountability mechanism. These two factors basically set the stream for the business value and return on the investment, the real and right in return. So uh, here, basically on that day, we will be discussing all these three major factors, and then I mentioned about the details of each section and each part. And very good luck with the transition and the transformation. I hope you seen many things and you relate many things with your organizations and the working culture around you. And you've seen that these are basically much needed or much effective techniques or information which you also will be willing to collaborate in your organization. So very good luck with this transition process.
Okay, thank you, Saqib. Uh,
Thank you very
with
much.
that, we will move to our question and answer sessions. Uh,
Hi,
I think we are,
Zeeshan.
yes.
Hi, Zeeshan. This is John Bosco from London.
Hello.
My question is to Saqib and for you, which would be the best methodology to use Agile?
Okay, that's a very common question we always get because there are many strategies, there are many things available on table. If you talk about Agile, obviously there is Scrum, there is XP, there are a lot of things. But the thing is, you should adopt a methodology and a framework that matches your organization. Because, as you know, Agile believes in not just transforming yourself into Agile, but building processes around how you work. So basically, it can be mix of any methodology. As you see around the world, you see there are the methodologies. There is always a mix of methodologies. You will see people using Scrum along with the Kanban, and in some cases they are using XP, if especially in financial domains. So basically, it's always a mix and match. It depends totally on your requirement and your structure, how you work. Sakib, you'd like to add something?
I just want to give a one-liner to Mr. John, actually. There are two ways to select any method or any strategy. Whether you follow these selections or you follow the directions. So in this particular part, I mean, like we should not be selective. Let's select this methodology, and then the things. Then we should try to fit in the things into that methodology. The better approach is the directions. What our need, our customer, our project, our requirements, what they are directing us is more important. So selecting, I mean, like choosing the methodology based on the directions of the requirement is always very much, practical and workable. This is what I want to add. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there any other question, or anyone wants to raise hand and please ask the question?
Okay, so I think we are done with the questions. Zainab, any other question from anyone?
No, there is nothing in the chat, and I guess it's, I think we
Okay.
should end up the presentation.
Okay. Uh, okay, just before we end, there are a few announcements and just a little bit information. First of all, as Saqib mentioned, we are going to have a full day session on Agile Organizational Transformation. Again, that will be brought to you by Oktara and OGMC. We have the session on 13th in Lahore and on 18th in Karachi. So it will be mostly around what we discussed today, along with uh, some practical aspects as well. So basically, uh, the people who will be joining there, they will see that there will be a lot of activities that will help them to correlate the practical aspects of those implementations with their normal professional life. So hope to see you guys there. Uh, just before we leave, just a little bit about ourselves, that we have around 10 books in available for sale, and we have some new books coming up, and just would like to mention here that one of our new book on agile transformation, organizational transformation, will be shared with all the attendees of the session that will be on 13th and 18th. We have a blog where you will find regular updates and all the different articles on different topics. So you might find it useful over there. A few training related to agile management, few of them coming up, like agile artificial intelligence, agile IoT and design thinking, risk governance, along with the PMI certification exam preparation, like PMP, ACP, and ITIL certification. So for all any question or any feedback, please feel free to contact us. Right. Over to you.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, I'd like to take opportunity. I am Jamil Janjua. I'd like to take opportunity on behalf of Oktara to thank both Saqib and Zeeshan for introducing us to agility transformation, which so far seems to be a buzzword, but from what I've heard, and mind you, it's been a very challenging day because the internet has been a little bit of playing hide and seek with us over here. I believe it's because of the Chelem outside in the city. And, I have not been, frankly, most of us have not been able to follow through with with your presentation, but I did get glimpses of the challenges that are going to be overcome by following the structure of this one-day program, which you have, very well highlighted in terms of its uh, its structure, the structure and the agenda for the day. So, on behalf of Oktara and team Oktara, we'd like to thank both of you gentlemen for introducing us to this concept, and we look forward to working with you on this program, which has been announced, and which I hope most of the participants to this webinar may find interesting. I'd also like to thank, in fact, especially thank to all the participants who have taken time away from their afternoon jobs duties to be available to this webinar, and we sincerely hope that there would have been certain learnings that may have come through. Of course, the topic being what it is, a little bit of a challenge. It will require perhaps a day to understand it, following the structure and the agenda, which both gentlemen have so concisely spoken about. So thank you, everybody. Thank you thank you, Zainab. Thank you, Aisha. Thank you, Sarim. Thank you, Omer, my team over here at Octara, for putting all this together. So, guys, from my side, from Octara side, and I'm sure I speak from Zeeshan and Saqib side. Um, a very hearty thank you, and have a good day. Goodbye. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.